So I sort of turned my screen today. I'm not sure how it's going to work. So I'm going to wait for my people to come in and let me know if this view will work or if I need to change it back to portrait. Hey Lamb! Thanks so much for joining us. I've sort of turned the screen into a landscape. Are you still able to see it, or must I turn it around? Just send me a comment and let me know. So because when it appears on the other side, it sort of cuts the side. So just thought, let me do it this way. Let me know if you can see it properly. Nah. And then we can take it from there. I love the little hearts you've sent. So today we're talking about how to get into corporate. And I know this is one of your subjects that you wanted us to discuss. So please put in the comments. The view looks great. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so I will keep it like this so that when we transfer it to other media like YouTube, it can at least appear as a full screen instead of it cutting the sides. Hey, Evans, thank you so much for coming through. And you know, I know Evans is always like willing to learn anything. And oh, I love the hearts. Is that for me? Thank you so much. Thank you. Right. So I'm gonna start now, and we can go into it. So, Evans, I know you're probably like not sure what we're doing today, but for those in the lab, some people want to stay in the lab and others want to get out. Oh, I'm loving these hearts that are coming up. This is so amazing. Is this because you love the topic or you love me? Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Leah M. Mulai, and the reason we're talking corporate today is because I'm a medical technologist who went into corporate. Hey, Andila, thank you so much for joining in. So today we're talking about how to move from the lab into corporate, but this applies to anyone who wants to move into the corporate world, because not everybody wants to stay in the lab. So if you want to move to the corporate world, there are certain rules there that you have to abide by, because it's not like just being in the lab. It's almost quite different from what you do in the lab. So who can apply and who can get into corporate? If you are a medical technologist, look, whether you have a national diploma or you have a BTech or you have a master's or a PhD, really it does not matter. If you do have a BTech, it does add some form of extra value. It is advantageous, but it's not necessary. So if you have just a diploma, please don't panic. Don't think that this is not for you. You can definitely get in. So how do you apply? So there's many of these sites that you can go into. I'm gonna not name them in their full names. I'm gonna call them Company R. For those in the lab, I think they will understand what I'm talking about, because unfortunately, also according to the marketing code, I'm not allowed to speak on behalf of anyone else. Thanks, Lab. So it's because of the presentation, or you know. Yeah, but so anyone can apply, and there's multiple companies. What I'll do is, if you want the list of the companies, there's two ways we're gonna do this. You're gonna go find your own list so I can see that you actually are interested, and then when you come back with that list, send it to me, and then I will give you a lot more based on what you've given me, because I give this information so much all the time and people do absolutely nothing. And yeah, so even says, I missed the lives, finally I'm back for the week. Yay, thank you so much. So lab, I'm gonna do this for you, Mamiki. So you're gonna give me a list of companies that you know that you are interested in, and then I'm going to give you another bunch of companies that you can include if you missed any. All right, so you have a number of companies: Company A, Company R, Company B, C, Company. There is so many that you can go into. Because of the sensitivity of the subject, I cannot actually name the companies right now as I'm talking to you now, but I will send you a list afterwards of what they are. All right, so a lot of people want to move only because of this perception of more money in corporate. Sometimes yes, sometimes not. So all of us have different ways that you basically can definitely earn a little bit more in corporate. Sometimes you move with your salary into corporate and they can increase it a little bit. Sometimes actually some companies will give you less of your salary, but they will give you more benefits. So what benefits are we talking about? So things like medical aid tend to be a little bit better compared to the private sector and corporate. So corporate tends to give you, for example, my medical aid benefit is 50-50. So you get 50% from your salary and 50% from the company itself. Hey, Clara, thanks for joining. We're talking how to get into corporate today. So just to explain the benefits a little bit, obviously they differ from company to company, but the structure as a whole is pretty much similar. So in the lab, yes, you do have your salary, you do have medical aid that they pay for. So you pay a certain amount and the lab will pay a certain amount. Now, when you come into corporate, it's a bit of a different story. Yes, you get your salary, but there's a lot more perks that come with it. So if you love to travel, some of them require a lot of traveling. So when you do look into the job posts, check the job description. They usually state there how much travel is required, if any. So, but there are jobs if you don't want to travel in corporate. So I'll touch on both, the traveling and the non-traveling, and the local travel and the international travel. All right. So if you are going to travel, you will get a travel allowance. These differ from company to company. So depending on which company you go to, it might be more or less. So you have to almost compare your apples to apples. All right. Then your salary will either be the same as it was before. They can either increase it or decrease it, but if they do decrease it because of they also have brackets like we do in the lab. So they will say this job grade, the salary is only bracketed up to this much, and then the next level is up to this much. So if you go into, for example, an entry level job post, you might find that the salary, what you were getting in the lab, might have been more than what you're getting here, but then they'll add some benefits into there that will sort of balance out your cost to company. So what are they? Things like medical aid. Like I said, sometimes some companies have 50-50. I'm just going to stick to that, but that's not for all companies. That's just to give you an example of what we have here. Some companies will also have a travel allowance for those that are traveling. There are people that are based in the office, like your call center people, your hotlines, your service center, whatever you call them in that company. Those will stay in the business itself on the premises. If you do work for a different kind of company, you can work from home with all the devices being given to you. So there's options to work at home. Now this depends on which company it is. So you have to go in and research each and every company that you're interested in to see what benefits they're having. How do you find that out? You phone them, you check their website to see what they have listed on there. To phone them, you can ask for HR. HR is always willing to give information. So you can either phone HR or email HR. Where do you find HR details? HR details are usually either on the website itself, or you can even find a lot of them on LinkedIn. Now, there's different people that are involved in the hiring process. There's HR that is involved to look for those people. Some companies don't want to use their own internal HR, and so they use recruiters. So remind me to touch a little bit more on recruiters on there. And then some companies have their own websites where you need to put your information in for you to apply there. Right. So there's different ways, and you need to know who is involved in the hiring process. So it's HR managers that are involved. If they include a recruiter, it will be a recruiter also, and the hiring manager. So who's the hiring manager? Usually the hiring manager is the person that you will be reporting to when you start working for that company. So if you know that you are now going to go into, I'm going to give an example of myself. I'm an application specialist. So if you know who the supervisor or the manager is for the applications, usually it will be then the supervisor or the director, whatever name they use in that company. So whatever company you're interested in, go and find what structure they have on the inside. It's usually very easy to see. If it's not, then you ask one of the people. You guys in the lab are very fortunate in a sense that when somebody comes into the lab and they're from whatever company, You guys already know these people. You can talk to them. If you used to ignore these people when they walk in, go and greet them, talk to them, make friends, and find out what it is that their structure looks like, what they do. You can ask them what they do on a daily basis, like a day in the life of an application specialist. It's very different from someone who's doing sales. So I've done sales myself, and I've done account management, and I can tell you now it's very different from applications. So just so we stay on track, so we were talking about the different benefits that you have on there. So medical aid, sometimes perks can be better. Corporate is not always better than the lab. This depends on what your level is already in the lab, what you are looking for. If you want to travel, then you can do corporate. If you don't want to travel, you can either stay in the lab and grow in there, or go to a different lab that has better benefits. Like, I know my friend Leah doesn't want to leave the NICD anymore, so definitely if that's an option, go on there. You can visit the NICD website also. You can go on to nhls.ac.za, so you can look there. There is really amazing posts on there that you can go into and see. The best thing for you to do is go onto the individual website for that company. All of those companies have this little tab, either called careers or jobs or whatever it is, and my friend Gloria is laughing. So everywhere on those company corporate websites, they always have a little corner there that says careers or corporate. All right, so you can definitely go on there. For example, I can probably speak about the company that I work for. The website you can visit is danaher.com. That's DANAHER.com. I will try and put it in the comments for you to see. So definitely you can go on there. Otherwise, go on to just search for every company that you're looking for. The easiest way to find out, now this is a trick, the easiest way to find out which suppliers are which. So we're all having different disciplines. You know, we've spoken about chemistry and hematology and micro. Mamiki, which department are you in? So if you are in the lab now and you have not volunteered to do material management or stock management or whatever it is, I suggest you start now. I know it's a tedious job. I know it's messy. I know it's freezing cold in the freezers to go in and count stock if you can. When the stock comes in, just check. There's usually details of the company that's delivering. Those are the suppliers. Those are the corporates. So you are CleanPath. Are you currently in a stat lab? So you basically have options. So you can do either chemistry or micro or hematology. What's your strongest point, Mamiki? What's your strongest point among all these things? Are you a chemistry, hematology, or micro? I know we are CleanPath, but there's one of them that you are really good at. So I want you to then focus on that area. And I want you to focus on the suppliers in that area. So for example, let's say company R or company S comes in and delivers reagents for you, or there's an application specialist coming in to do either monthly QC review, or they're trying to troubleshoot with you. So what you need to do in the meantime, while you are in the lab, you need to at least identify 1 or 2 areas that you can specialize in. What does that mean? So if you are CleanPath and you're having to do morphology, you need to be identified as Mamiki, the diff specialist. Right. So what that means is you need to get to a point where if somebody is not sure of what they're seeing on their slide, they call you. That's step number 1. Now, step number 2 is you don't want them to call you all the time. What you then do is you teach someone. I know this might sound a bit counterproductive that you teach someone. There's a lesson in that. So people who love to teach, it means then when you need to move to a more senior position or move out of that lab into another position, you already have somebody that you've trained and they don't have a reason to put you there. All right, so your favorites are chemistry and hematology. I'm excited. So on any one of those ones, so chemistry and hematology, some of these corporates will have an opportunity for you to do both. Some of them you will do individually. So you either specialize in chemistry or you specialize in hematology. So you pick. So you can do both of them almost at the same time, but pick one, specialize, and then pick one and then add on to that. So once they know you as Mamiki, the heme diff specialist, you the person they go to, they call you. Number two, you train someone. So train as many people as you can. For example, if you now are going to go into application specialist, all we do is train. So application specialist, we train either new customers, old customers, engineers, our very own application specialists. We support our product managers, we support marketing. And so the training aspect almost never goes away. Now, when you go into sales, again, you still train. So you train your customers, you still learn the same pathophysiology that you learned. So, there's certain things that you keep all the way in. Don't think you go into corporate and you leave those. So you don't. So what you do while you're in the lab, when you train someone, I don't know if you have the opportunity to go into training or whatever, but if you do, there's only 5 things you need to know. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. So when you're training someone, all you need to do is say who. Say, for example, we're talking about hematology at this point, and you want to train someone on hematology. You only focus on those things. So who are you testing at this time? Maybe you're testing an HB. When do you test for an HB? When you suspect anemia. Where do you test it? So you take an EDTA tube and you test it in a hematology lab using what? Okay, and then you go, when do you test it? So you have to answer all these things, and your why is why do you test for your hemoglobin, and the how is how do you then test. You go step by step by step. Usually in the lab, all they say is, that's an HB, this is the machine, you put it on there, you get a result, it's either low or high, bang, send it to the doctor. So you're going to be a different trainer from this point. If there's an opportunity for you to train, you're going to go and follow all those steps. Okay, so what are you training on? Where are you training? Who are you? There's only 5 W's and 5 W's on a bench. So if you draw them, they're like 5 bums on a bench, and the bench is an H, which is the how. So that's the only thing I can really show you about training today, and then we can do another session on how to train, because you will never ever ever go anywhere else without having to train anyone. So Gloria, for example, is in EQA, and you still have to train people every single time. So the training aspect never goes away. I didn't know about this. I just happened to love training from ever since I was a child. I used to come back from school and write, and I would write. My mom was a teacher and she brought chalks all the time, and so I would teach the kids locally who used to come and play with me, and I never knew there was something that I was gifted in. I just loved it from an early age, and I just didn't know how it can be transferred into anything. So you train every day, and you can use that. So back to corporate. So now that you've identified yourself and you've made yourself the expert in that field, and now when the position comes in and when the application specialist comes in and they want to troubleshoot, usually what we do in the lab is we target somebody who is an expert. So if I phone the lab and I'm like, I want to troubleshoot, and I hear somebody's name who probably doesn't even know where the on and off button is, I usually would say, can I speak to Mamiki, please? What does that do? It means then Mamiki's name is on here. So the next time if there's like anything that comes up, or there is a referral program that we have, or they say, do you know anyone who's good at chemistry? I'm like, you know what, there's this girl I'm always troubleshooting with. She is so sharp. If somebody comes in and they troubleshoot in the lab, I know you guys are busy. You can say hi and start to build that relationship. Hi, I'm Mamiki. This is what I do. What you don't want to do is, first thing you come in and you're like, what do you guys do? Let me know when there's a job. No. We get that question 100 times a day, and I will not remember you. Not at all. I will just pass. I will forget about you, because the first thing you didn't do is build a relationship with me. So the important thing, whether it's applications or sales or marketing or whatever it is that you're going to do in corporate, build that relationship first. So learn to build relationships, and relationships, you have to be patient. Step by step by step. Say hi today. I think guys are really good at this because they're American girls all the time. And you don't just come in there and you say, hey, my name is Evans and I think we should have kids, 4 kids, let's get married today, and then tomorrow, bang, we're getting married. No. So guys have a way of reeling you in, and so they get a lot of practice as they grow up on how to build relationships. But that doesn't take away anything from the ladies. Ladies, you guys know if you like a guy, you can make him shella you anytime. So you give him very subtle hints, and you're like, I mean, if he doesn't even get it, you go and you're like, bro, like, you cannot see that I'm interested here, okay? So, I mean, you have to get to that point. And you have to get to that point, mommy, because you sort of have to build that relationship very, very slowly. So take it like that. Don't rush into marriage like that and start proposing baby names and all of that on date one. So build that relationship when you're on LinkedIn. Now let's talk LinkedIn. Lindy, I know you're not on LinkedIn. I'm hoping by the end of this you get onto LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, and Gloria can attest to this. So Gloria got headhunted on LinkedIn by one of the companies. Why? Because LinkedIn is a place where recruiters are, HR managers are, and you have to be on LinkedIn. I know there's other platforms like Indeed.com and all of those things, and PNet and all of that. So there's a lot of platforms you can go on to put your CV on there. And then you also really, really critical. You need to go and put your details, your CV and everything on that specific company website. So that company website will have a space where you can put in your details, put in your CV and all of that stuff. So make sure that is all up to date. I do have posts already on LinkedIn about how to prep up your CV, make it look proper. And I also have posts about how to make your LinkedIn in such a way that recruiters can come and see you. I still get requests for interviews and all of that from recruiters. You know what? It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Now that I have a job, they're all up in my face. And when I was in the lab and I wanted to get into corporate, none of them were interested. So it's one of those things where you guys know when you don't have a boyfriend, like zero. No one is even shellering you. No one is like saying hi. And as soon as you get a partner, all these guys come up out of nowhere. Exes are calling. All these guys are like, hi, hi, hi. And you sort of have to pick wisely. So even though there are a lot of companies, what I want you to do is rather focus on one or two companies that you really, really, really are interested in. Number one, look at their culture. If you are in it, culture is very, very important because, I don't want to use the wrong word here, but there's other companies that may discriminate against you. So you need to find out, is this a company that I really want to work for? Is this a company that's going to build me? There's other companies that are really, really interested in training and building you up as an employee. If that's what you want to do, you look for those companies that will either take you further. They'll pay for your studies. They'll pay for that MBA. They'll pay for that PhD. So absolutely spot and identify that company, and even says absolutely. So you need to identify the company. So instead of running around and applying at 50 other 100 companies, find the two that you're really interested in. Do your research on that company. Are the people happy? You will see them. You can ask them. When you ask someone for those questions, again, Mamiki, when you ask those questions, you would have built a relationship, and now they can be comfortable and tell you some of the things they wouldn't have told you. First time you see me, I'd probably tell you, oh yes, it's very nice being an application specialist, because if I tell you we travel so much, I hate it sometimes. You're going to think, oh no, she just doesn't want us to be in applications. But if you get to see what we do, like I post on my social media when I'm in the lab at 12 a.m. or 2 a.m. and I'm leaving home for like 2 weeks, going to Nigeria, coming back for 1 day, going back to Germany, staying there for 5 days, going from a really hot place to a very cold place, missing birthdays and all of those things. But that's just the cons that we have in there. But the pros of it is I'm traveling for free, I'm going all over. So it depends on what your need is and what your want is at that time. If you have kids, for example, I've got 2 kids and they don't get to see much of me. But again, you sort of have to decide for yourself, is this what I want to do or not? And if traveling is really not an option for you, go in for like hotline positions, call center positions. You can even do salespeople sometimes, depending on what region and what company you're working for. Like in my previous company, I was doing sales and I was doing Gauteng sales. So I was doing Gauteng and 4-hour radius. That meant that when I'm in Gauteng, I can only drive, and I'm responsible for other labs that are 4-hour radius away from where I am. So that included like Bloemfontein and parts of Mpumalanga and Limpopo and all of that. So again, as I was talking in my previous post, if you've missed it, about how to be a successful sales and account manager, I was talking there about how you actually can map out your customers into A, B's, and C's depending on who's either paying you the most, and then the next medium customer, and then your customers that don't pay you that much. And you can also arrange them in a way that you find a way that you can say, this might be a B customer, but they have such a potential of being an A customer because they're only running 2 of my tests out of my 20 test panel, meaning you have an opportunity to add 18 more tests on that customer that was only at this point in time running 2 of your tests. Okay, so there's 2 different ways of looking at your customers. And what you do is you take care of the customers you already have, because it's easier to keep a customer that you already have to keep buying from you than acquiring a new customer. It's very expensive to acquire a new customer in terms of monetary relationship, trying to figure them out. What do they like? What's their buying process? Who's involved in the decision-making process? If you miss one decision maker, I can tell you now, you find that one decision maker is one that probably had a horrible experience with that company 20 years back. Oh, we've had sometimes you find that the director at the time stole this guy's girlfriend in high school and he's still bitter about it. So those things sometimes still happen. There are processes that, you know, we try and have in place to make sure that those things don't happen. But you know what, it happens that somebody might have a personal grudge which they need to disclose. They are forced to disclose that, but not everybody discloses, but they have to disclose if they have some form of beef with somebody. I mean, it does happen. So you need to know and identify all your stakeholders. But back to how do you get into corporate? We've said there's some benefits that are on there. Medical aid sometimes is better or not. Sometimes the you're laughing, right? So the beef is there, man. The beef is there. We have to sort of find ways around it. But so if you're looking at it, medical aid, definitely some benefits are better. Sometimes you find that government, like the NHLS, sometimes has better benefits than corporates, depending on which site you are at, or NICD or NIOH in the NHLS site. So definitely their benefits sometimes tend to be a little bit better depending on what bracket they are on. So when you move over, sometimes, like I said, you can either keep it the same, get more or less. Now, it depends what you want. If you want training, maybe the lab you are in doesn't want to offer training for you and corporate will pay for you, then you can move for them to pay for your training. But the other thing is, what value are you bringing? Like I said with you, Mamiki, you have to find that value. Make yourself an expert in that field so that by the time you come over, you add value to that lab, or rather that corporate company you're going into. It's not just about you getting the benefits from the corporate company. You have to give some value to that company. So you need to find a way that you are either trainable. If it's a company that you're already familiar with, you study them. I'm telling you, study them so much that when you come in, you already are trainable to a sense that you already know some of the products. All the information is there on these websites. The same thing I'm learning now, I'm learning from the corporate website. There are some things that are obviously private and confidential that you learn on the side, but I'm telling you now, 80% of what we know and what we do is already on the corporate side, because they want you to know about the products. They want you to understand the product. They want you to use it in the right way, because we do benefit from having you guys know all the information already, that all we do is supplement. Imagine we had to train you everything from A to Z. It's almost impossible. So everything is on the website. There's always this little career tab, career jobs. That's where they are. All the other things like referrals and LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I do have a post on how to succeed on LinkedIn already on my LinkedIn, Leah M. Mulai. So you go on there and look for it. I've been saying I'm gonna highlight it, and I've been looking for it, but they are on there. So if you follow my journey, today is now day 44 on the journey of becoming Leah. If you scroll all the way down to like day 9, day 10, day 7, you will see that there is posts that are already posted, day 19. So you will see I always gave hints on how to make additional income, how to get into the lab, how to fix your CV, how to fix your LinkedIn profile, so all of that. So it's on there, so have a look on there. Otherwise I probably will need to do another live just on that, but they're already on my LinkedIn profile. So back to how you get in. We've already talked about the benefits. We've already talked about the traveling. It differs from company to company, and it differs from role to role. So you have like people like product managers who are in the office and they don't travel as much depending on what company they are. Some companies will have their product managers traveling more and others less. So you have to compare, at least have two that you compare. For me, the magic number is always 3. I don't know, there's something special about the number 3, and I'm still trying to figure it out. There's like lucky number 3, third time lucky. When you structuring your camera, you sort of have to be in the block of 3. So there's really something special about the number 3. So if you do apply and they reject you, don't give up. Apply again. Don't give up. You need to at least try 3 times at the same company. If they say no, leave it. Then you can go to another company. Now, when I say apply, and I'm saying apply and get called into an interview. So you must go to at least 3 interviews in that company for you to give up on it. All right. So certain things change. Say, for example, you are applying at this point and it's a different supervisor or a different director at that time. Don't give up on it completely. A year later, you might find that same supervisor who didn't think you were good enough has now moved from that company, and now there's another manager or supervisor in that same company. Apply. How do you know? You've been following the company on LinkedIn. You're searching their website all the time. You're speaking to the people that are coming in to fix the machines. Engineers are a good place for you to go. They're very easy to talk to. You know, they're very, usually if you're not coming on strong on them, they'll tell you what you need to know. But if they start to get the sense that you're trying to hit on them, they tend to sort of clinch away. So just be careful, especially for the ladies. Just borderline get information, don't fall in love type of thing, right? So try and get as much information from them. Try and get information from application specialists. When I started, I had, actually, he's today a very good friend of mine. But when I asked him in the lab, and I was still in the lab at the time, and I was a technical trainer, and I asked him, so how do you become an application specialist? You know what he said to me? And I still talk to his wife today. I'm like, yo, your husband was so rude to me, but he was actually honest, and I didn't take it lightly. So he was like, no, get some more years, get more experience in the lab. I'm like, I'm already training. I'm already working on my master's. What does he mean get more? Like, what more experience do I need? You know? And so I was very upset about it, and I felt he was being rude. But I think at that time, when we spoke about it, it was actually just about try and get more information, build yourself up. And the other thing with corporate is they focus so much more on what you look like. So appearance is really a great deal in terms of corporate. It's not that you're gonna not get a job because you're not looking the part or whatever it is, because we do have different people. You have girls body chisco, and they still get in. So it really is not about what you look like, but the thing is, the culture is in such a way, especially when you go into sales, what you look like, whether we like it or not, really matters. What your brand is really matters. I mean, today I wear heels, and I've worn heels ever since I was in the lab, and it's obvious it's a safety issue type of thing. So I had to find my way around it because I couldn't work on flat shoes for a whole 12-hour shift. So I would work, whether it was night shift or whatever, I'd wear my heels because I was more comfortable in heels. But in the lab, you actually have to wear closed shoes. Presentation. Absolutely. It's almost everything. When you walk in, people want you to represent your company. The company itself wants you to represent them. It's really, really crucial. I mean, it's almost unfortunate that what you look like almost determines what your future is in such an environment, but it is what it is. And yeah, I mean, I think that was an inspiration for me why I started my drop shipping label. It's not even published as yet, so it's going to go under leahmulai.com, because for me, I felt like I didn't really know what to wear in this environment. And I felt, you know what, if anybody wants to come out of medical technology into the corporate world, then they will at least go to my site and order from there, or see at least what kind of items they should be having on there and putting together. So absolutely, I'm all about success, whichever way it is. And if it means looking good, that's one thing. Last week I was telling you guys, I never hide my businesses. Hair is definitely one of my businesses that I'm in, and I wear it all the time. So when people ask me, so where did you get this hair? I'm like, from my company. you know. So I mean, it's one of those things that you have to find ways that work for you, and it's so important. We call it non-verbal communication. So we're gonna probably have another live on that, just to talk about non-verbal communication. That was the first thing my director, when I started as an ambassador or as a sales and account manager, he said, we communicate, 70% of what we communicate is non-verbal. So as soon as you walk in, before you even say anything, people have judged you already in the first 3 seconds. They already know whether they want to listen to you. They already know whether they want to buy from you. They already know whether they want to even speak to you. So what you look like really does matter, unfortunately, in this environment that we are talking about today. Then the next thing is that verbal communication. Now they want to know, okay, she looks pretty. Let's hear what she has to say. And so you sort of at this time have to sell yourself, give your CV and say, look, I know what I'm talking about. I've studied Clean Path. I've been training people in chemistry for the longest time. I have a master's in medical technology. You know, who cares? But these people care sometimes. Like, who cares that I have a master's? I mean, really, for me, it makes no sense. But some people want you to put your accolades on there. Some people want to know what some people, let's talk about corporate a little bit. Sometimes you come into the lab and the person you need to talk to doesn't even want to talk to you because you are a junior. And they just shut down. They're like, no, I'd rather speak to your boss. Do you have any decision-making powers? No, then I want to speak to your boss. So you will find such challenges where you need to be, corporate is such a dog-eat-dog world that you need to be strong. You need to be, I used to be a total crybaby. And when I got into corporate, you sort of have to toughen up. It really requires you to toughen up. Sometimes you have to stand up for yourself. Sometimes you have an idea and you tell someone and you're still a bit shy-ish and they take your idea and they use it as their own. So you will get such things, and not every company will obviously have that, but you need to be aware of such things so that when it happens, it doesn't break you emotionally. It doesn't cause you to have depression. Like, for example, I got my child who got diagnosed of cerebral palsy while I was doing sales, and the stress of it, I got depressed immediately, and then there was numbers that I had to deal with. So you always have to hit your number, whether your child is dying, whether there is obviously support structures, like you get counseling and all of those things, but you need to be aware of those things, that yes, they may be understanding, but the number is still the number. When you're in sales, you still have to hit your numbers. When you are applications, for example, I'm the only one in applications at this moment doing immuno. So you sort of have to find that balance to say, if my child goes sick, goes into hospital, how do I manage that emotionally to still be able to support my customers but still have time for my own family? So just, you need to be strong. You sometimes will get a really good manager, and sometimes you will get one who just doesn't understand that you have a life outside of corporate. All right, and when you do climb up the corporate ladder, just make sure you're not stamping on too many toes. Everybody's always sort of looking out for themselves, but at the end of the day, we are one big happy family also, because we are looking after the customers, we are looking after the company, and you sort of have to merge the two together. This is definitely one topic that I realize now that we're gonna need to have more lives on. I thought it was gonna be a nice quick one, but it's turning out not to be. So just to wrap up for today, and I think we can do this again tomorrow just to have more meat on it. We can definitely take it further from there. But right now, the important thing is go and find those 2 companies. If you can, 3 max. Find the one you love the most. Find the next one, and the last one is merely just backup, because you just want to try them out and compare the 3 different benefits that they have, compare their cultures, compare their structures. Some companies don't have like those ladders of growing, and others do. So you need to find that the one you are going in, will you have an opportunity to grow? Some companies, like the one I was at, a lot of it is really parallel. So you either move from an account manager, which is parallel, to an application specialist, and there was not really a lot of levels. So other companies you come in, you are like almost like a junior salesperson, then you become a salesperson, then you become a senior salesperson, then you become a senior of the region, then you become a regional manager, then you become a country manager. So you have to find, are you that kind of person who gets motivated by moving from level level to level, then you go for that company. And if you're not really worried about the parallel moves, but they are increasing your salary anyway, then you can try that. If you are into management, then you can see that is also an option on there. So definitely anyone can apply into corporate. Go onto the individual sites of the webs, contact the HR managers, speak to the HR and the hiring managers on LinkedIn, phone them, email them, make friends with people in corporate. If there's any form of referral program, they'll think of you. You know, just try and be nice. Yeah, and just be a hard worker at that time. Find niches. It's so important for you to find niches. When I volunteered for material management, which is stock management, I never knew how useful it will become for me as a sales and account manager. You just never know. So basically tomorrow we are going to talk more about this and how you can make yourself really stand out from. There is so many medical technologists and there's very little jobs in corporate. I mean, look how many medical technologists are there, and I'm like the only immuno application specialist for South Africa and other parts of Africa. It's almost like, you know, it's one of those things. So the next thing for me would be train the next person. So if another job post comes, I can then move up and someone else can come in. We were talking about it last week, make space for other people. So if you've already also been in the lab for quite some time, move up. If you're not in the lab and you still want to go to corporate, it does not close you off. So if you are sales, for example, you are a car salesperson, or you're doing sales wherever you are, or you are an engineer at that time. We also take people that are outside of the lab. So you are still an engineer, you still did electrical engineering or mechanical, you can come through. Electromechanical, whatever it is, instrumentation, so you can still come into the corporate. It's not just for people in the lab. So those of you that are also just not in the lab but are interested, you definitely can apply onto those sites. I know you guys probably won't know what these companies are, so you can send me a DM and definitely we can touch up on the different companies. So it's, if you are Lindiwe, remember we were talking about your sister that's doing engineering, definitely an option to come in. Even though they are not from a lab background, they can come into corporate admin, call center, marketing, product management, any sales experience. You know, you definitely don't have to come from the lab to get into corporate. So it's not closed off. If you are on here and you're watching this and you're thinking I'm not from the lab, it does not close you off. There's also spaces for you guys. If you're doing logistics, if you think about it, these are suppliers. We work with machines that we install, so we need engineers, we need application specialists, we need IT. Hey, if you're IT also, you can definitely come and check these companies. If you are a buyer or someone who is, you know, a purchaser, or you do logistics, the you know, admin, the options are endless. So if you are maybe in any one of these weird professions and you want to know, is there space for me, then DM me definitely at Leah Mulai, and then we can definitely talk about it and see if there is an opportunity for you in this. So let me wrap this up right now. Thank you so much. We will continue this topic tomorrow because I do realize that there is so much to catch up on this topic. It wasn't as short as I thought it would be because there's so much information to touch on. So your homework is to find those companies that you are interested in, and then tomorrow when you send me your list, I will give you a further list of what they are. So go and find the company, find their phone number, and find the email that is associated to your local representative there. And then recruiters, definitely we'll talk more about recruiters like SalesWorks and ETALions. ETALions is ETALYONS, so you can definitely go on there. And thank you so much, Gloria. She says thank you, my friend. And Mamiki says definitely, absolutely. So let's catch up again tomorrow 5 p.m. here on Lab Talk, and then we can just carry on with the discussion of how to get into the corporate world. All right, so thank you so much, guys. Bye. If you have any questions, let me know, and then we will discuss them tomorrow. All right, bye.